under your name today in Philadelphia's leading Latino-speaking magazine or journal, Aldea, is an article that speaks to the 50s and beyond. It's an op-ed that you wrote that challenges all of the mayoral candidates to address the crying needs of the city. Let me ask you, what is the intent of the article? What is the content of the article? And have you gotten any feedback? I know it just appeared today, but has there been any feedback from any of the candidates at whom this is aimed? What's the intent and what's the content?
The intent is to present a vision that is designed to never have Philadelphia come to a gun violence crisis ever again, or any of these other crises that we in the Black and brown communities have gone through generation after generation. You know, the crack epidemic, you know, we got the opioid thing going on, and which is affecting our community as well as others. But it's to give the mayors a vision of how Philadelphia could really set the bar for how cities in America, many of which, like this one, are majority non-white, majority Black and brown, could start to build systems and processes that acknowledge and benefit from that reality, as opposed to trying to keep recycling this, you know, this white supremacy paradigm and then say, well, we about social justice and we about this and that, without doing enough to really revamp and restructure, you know, the foundation on which we operate in. So it's a call to action for anybody running for mayor to think about, you know, what are you preparing yourself to do, really? And if what you're preparing yourself to do does not line up with the reality of the complexion and the composition of the city, and the fact that the majority ethnic group, African Americans, is, you know, at the center of what you call in the major crises of gun violence. If you're not thinking about our true value and you know, what we make up in this city, and the stakeholder that we are, along with our Latino and Asian brothers, who together we comprise 65% of the city, then what are you doing? Why are you running?
I want to take a look at some of the specific things that you call for. And this is something that, ladies and gentlemen, it's an open letter to all of the candidates for mayor. It is sweeping in its approach, and it is very strident and very straightforward from the pen of Mazie Cashews, the executive director of Philly Truce and one of its co-founders. And they're doing their level best to try to bring down gun violence from the perspective of a non-governmental organization. But Mazie, in this letter, is challenging people who want to be your mayor to do some different things. You make mention of the fact that we need to change the way we do policing, that Philadelphia police officers should be not only citizens of the city, but they ought to live in the neighborhoods that they patrol. You talk about free tuition at local universities, and then you give a directive about the use of deadly force. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, you can wrap your arguments around those points, and we can see whether or not other people agree with you, disagree with you. But whatever the case might be, ladies and gentlemen, this proposal, this letter, should stir up some things. It's now 21 minutes away from the hour of 5. You're listening to Progressive Black Talk Media, WRD AM 900, 96.1 FM, online at wordradio.com. We'll be back in just a moment. 16 minutes away from the hour of 5 o'clock here on a beautiful, sunny Wednesday afternoon. You're listening strong to Progressive Black Talk Media, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, online at wordradio.com. In the virtual studio with me is one of Philadelphia's leading combatants against the violence that's been sweeping our city. Mazie Cashews, the co-founder of Philly Truce. And in that capacity, he wrote an open letter that appeared in Aldea that challenges all of the mayoral candidates to become become specific in their attempts to make right the things that have gone wrong in the city of Philadelphia. Specifically, Mazie, and welcome back to you. Specifically, you call for them to do some things that are sweeping in their scope. For example, police officers, you want them to live in the neighborhood that they police. What is your rationale behind that?
Well, I hear a lot about community policing. I see a lot of police who sit in cars and don't walk the beat and all kinds of other things. And, as a kid growing up here, I had many interactions with police who felt very much like an occupational force. I would gather to say, my age doesn't, kind of predispose me to that anymore. But I'm sure by and large, it hasn't changed. So the ideas come from this. If I live out of town in another county, I come to work to manage or police people who I have no relationship with, no cultural sensitivity about. I'm really in no position to do anything else but occupy. So the premise is this, right? You want to be a cop, right? You should definitely live in the city. I know there's been all kinds of back and forth about that, but I personally don't even understand why it's an issue. But furthermore, I feel like, look, the police department got something like a $727 million budget or something like that, right?
Right.
I don't see why they couldn't, for example, in low-income areas, develop something like rookie housing, right? So you come out of the academy, your room and board is covered, you got somewhere to live, and once you go check into your rookie housing, you walk the block and introduce yourself and make sure everybody knows who you are, and where you live is where you work. I mean, it's gonna create a mindset shift that I don't think any other process could do in terms of becoming aware and sensitive to what goes on in the community, to the needs of the community. And furthermore, you're going to have a police presence, in many more places than you presently would have.
Is it legal? I mean, would it? Well, I guess you're not a lawyer, so asking you is it legal isn't fair to you.
Let me say this: none of this stuff is about tomorrow, right? Basically, what I'm asking the next mayor to do is to look at all the root causes of how we get in situations like we're in today, right? And then do a minimum 25-year plan to arrive at some of these suggestions that's in the letter. We're not asking them to flip a switch, but we do know that laws can be made to make provisions for anything there's a political will to see happen. We know that's how the system works. So the real crux of the matter is that I'm asking is the same way in 2010, 2011, they did the 2035 plan for Philly, very detailed, how the whole city going to be gentrified and what's going to happen in the Northeast and what's going to happen in this and how all the neighborhoods going to be renamed and spruced up. That's great. Now we need to do that same thing for the consciousness, the psychology, the psyche of the city. Because right now you got a nice looking city that's displacing or a city that's becoming nicer looking, that's displacing all kinds of people into what it could be in 25 years, the next hood up in the lower Northeast around Oxford Circle and out in Derby, where all these people are getting pushed from North Philly and South Philly, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let me ask, are there any mayoral candidates who have responded to some of the information? We want to make sure, folks, that you get an opportunity to find out where to read this article. I will say this to you, Mazie. Look, I know that you have artistic ability when it comes to music and production, and you've got extraordinary organizational skills. But, brother, you know how to put a pen on a piece of paper there. I mean, this is a well-written letter. But let me just get back to the main point. Are there any
let's hold on right there. That's an excellent point right there. I have not finished college, right? I went to public high school in North Philadelphia, right? My principal, Odette Harris and Lawyer Chapman, Black intellectuals who saw to it that we got the best education we could because they knew what awaited us out there in the world as young Black kids. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about, making sure everything is culturally synthesized, according to lived experience, according to cultural norms, and stop, trying to have everybody conform to this, which we got to first admit that the whole program, the whole platform is white supremacist, right? America started here, downtown, at least the documentation of it, and it needs to restart right here. And that's really the premise of the letter. And this is the 100th mayor. This is a great time for a reset.
Now, that's what I was noticing. It appears to me that you are asking the mayor to be daring and willing to basically draw a line in the sand saying yesterday was yesterday and we're willing to do radical changes to start things new. Do you really perceive that, especially in a city like ours that's pretty entrenched in certain procedures, protocols, and policies, do you perceive that a mayor would be able to do that in our city?
As I stated, I do believe that under the context of a 25-year plan that has all the benchmarks that we, the people, agree upon with the government. There's all kinds of ways to get this started, right? It could come down to a ballot measure where, is the city going to, raise $500 million and what do they call it? Not grants, bonds. Stuff like that, right?
Okay.
When we want to do it, we will do it. This right here is to give the idea to the mayor, but also to the people. Like, if people think this is a good idea, or there's some good ideas in there, well, let's start grouping up around those, right? And let's start making sure we can get some commitment from that person we're going to vote for. Will you consider a year in your first year of research into how this can be implemented? Everything can be changed with enough political will. The city charter, laws in Harrisburg that make things possible. Everything is negotiable in this democracy. We just have to remember that and not keep accepting that them excuses.
The status quo.
Yeah, the status quo. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Mazi Kasher. He's the co-founder of Philly Truce. Philly Truce is working in communities throughout the city, trying to reduce violence by intervention, mediation, and education. Most recently, today, in Philadelphia's leading Latino journal, Al Día, an article appeared under the name of Mazi Kasher, under his byline. It's an opinion piece that basically challenges all of the candidates for mayor to take a very serious look, a radical look, and a radical approach at correcting the problems that are existing in Philadelphia. Mazi, we only got a couple of minutes left. If people want to hear what you are having to offer and what you are proposing, if they want to read about it themselves, where can they find this particular opinion piece that's in Al Día today?
Right. They can go to Philly Truce on Instagram, and you hit our link and you'll find it right there. That'll be the easiest way. Otherwise, you can go to Al Día and just search the op-eds, or enter my name. But go to Instagram, hit the Philly Truce link, hit the link in the bio. It'll take you right there and to all the other information about Philly Truce. And look, this is a conversation starter. But we would be crazy to not try to assert our will as people at this point in time with this administration that we just all suffered through and still got 10 more months of. We would be insane to just let somebody tell us, I'm going to get tough on crime, or I'm going to do this, and just go vote. We would be insane. We will also be insane to vote for somebody just because they look like us, right? All of that got to go right now. The reality is this is a black and brown city, right? Everything, top to bottom, the most influential media outlets, the top employers, the municipal government, police, and everything got to correspond with the population of the people. And we already know that the largest ethnic group, the African Americans, suffer the most. We all know that the gun violence revolves around us. And we all know, even if we want to take something like the 57 blocks program that the DA is running, it's all research, all that's done. My job is just to put something out there to not let this moment, this opportunity go by, right? I don't have all the details, but I know that if they can plan 25 years of rebuilding the physical Philadelphia, they should be able to plan 50 for rebuilding the collective consciousness of Philadelphia.
It's out there, ladies and gentlemen. This article takes a sweeping look at ways that Philadelphia can improve its lot. You'll find it on the website of Philly Truce and also on the website of Philadelphia's leading Latino news journal, Aldia, ALDIA. It's under the byline of my guest, Mazie Kasher, the co-founder of Philly Truce. Mazie, it's always a pleasure to have you on board, man. And I'm advising everybody to take a look at this one. This is really a very well-written proposal. And I'm hoping that you will let us know if you get some responses and tell us what those responses were like when the time comes.